Good morning. We're changing it up today. We got a bit of a different system. We're going to try this out. I bought a little table yesterday. We're going to see if we can add special effects, also known as visual aids. Good morning, Bitcoiners. Hirsch23. Good morning, my man. Hope you're doing well. Bon matin. Good morning, Bitcoiners. What's up? What's up? Good morning, fam. Good morning, Ben. Hope you're doing great. Sean. Hope you're doing great. Good morning, all. Good morning, Sean. Good afternoon from England this time. Cool. Very fun. Very fun. We like it. Let's clean up the mess. Indeed, we're going to be cleaning up some messes. P-Man, let's do Bitcoin again. Do some Bitcoin again. We love it. We're always doing Bitcoin here. Good morning, all. Good morning, David. Australians in the house. Down would say, g'day, Habib. Thank you. G'day. G'day. Calamera Bitcoiners. Thank you, Jeremy. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Let's see. Morning, gang. What's up, bud? Flush them all. We're going to be flushing today. We're going to be flushing. Good morning, Christina. Good morning. We're very happy to have you this morning. Thanks for coming. Thanks for coming. Business is booming. Breakup gang for the win. We're going to win. We're winning. We're winning. From Sweden. Wow, great. Love Sweden, Tom. Big fan. First live stream. Amazing, Tom. Thanks for coming, man. Thanks for coming. Big fan of Sweden. I went to a party once in Sweden. There were 20 Swedish people and like 2 Canadians. Everyone at the party spoke English all night out of kindness and respect for us. Amazing place. Amazing. Big fan. Great morning to be alive and talk Bitcoin and humorous. Yeah, we got some fun today. It's going to be pretty funny. Good morning. Good morning. Today should be interesting. It should be. We got a lot of interesting stuff. Ready for Moscow time, Habib? I am ready. Nice hat. Who is Satoshi? We don't know. I believe, obviously, Nick Szabo. I'm a Nick Szabo believer, but don't tell anyone. Don't tell anyone it's him. All right. Let's just acknowledge before we get going that I have a wrinkly shirt. My other one didn't. I noticed something had fallen on it and it wasn't good. So I changed to this quickly, but it's wrinklier on screen than it is in real life. But what are you going to do? It's orange. So at least we got that. And at least the sun is up, right? We got a total sunrise. Bitcoin's running. So all that's left for us to do is have a coffee and talk about what's new. Gene says, I really appreciate a non-number go up podcast. We talk about numbers going up sometimes, Gene. We're not zero on the numbers going up. We definitely don't. Washing and drying is easy, and folding and putting away is hard. Yeah, this one's just been in there for a little long. That's all it is. Haven't worn it. Most of my clothing is orange these days. Yes, he is John Galt. Yeah, Satoshi and John Galt is the better way to handle it. You don't want to say it too much publicly who you think it is, because you don't want the person being caught, right? You don't want Satoshi having to deal with any of this stuff. I'm feeling bold-hearted these days. I like that word. Bold-hearted. Good morning from South Florida, where we love Bitcoin as much as the sun. We love that sun. All right. So, oh, dang it. That's not the way that's supposed to go. Okay. So today, I'm going to try and share my notes with you. We're going to be doing that thing where you normally have, like, you know how some people just use a screen share and then put their face small, and then you get to have the whole screen as a thing. I'm going to try with this just because it's a little less. I don't want this to feel like a school lesson. You know what I mean? Like this isn't a presentation. We're not doing presentations. So it's not really a presentation. It's not in PowerPoint. It's just pictures. You're just going to see my notes. You're just going to see the Twitter stuff that I save. And that's what helps me direct the show and all of that stuff. So let's see, guys. Let's see how this is going to work. So it's also a way for us to enjoy our thumbnail, right? That's our AI thumbnail. But let's get into Moscow time first. So the theme today, so this is something I'm going to have to work through. I have it backwards because normally the theme and the AI image are related. So I'm giving you the theme ahead of time, flushing the fiat world, but we'll have to come back to it. So I'll have to find a way to order these things a little better. But first, Moscow time. Can you read it? Does it make sense? Is this system ever going to work? Let's see. I might have to do what everyone else does because you can't really see everything here, right? but that's okay. So this is from a magazine, and what they ask is, so what if a candidate live streams sex acts with her husband? So what, guys? It doesn't matter. Politicians have always pushed society's sexual boundaries, right? The next taboo is bound to fall soon. That's the subheadline, which you can't see in this. So we're learning. We're seeing if this system works. I got another one here, though. If it's not her you want, right? This one's pretty good. We've got a exclusive from MSNBC, and they're looking into the sheriff, I guess, or the one of the police officers. Yeah, the sheriff. And what does he say? Yeah, this sucks. Huh? This doesn't work at all. You can't see any writing. I was testing it, and I thought I could see the writing. Let me see if I brighten the screen a little. What'll happen? No, max bright. Whoops, something just broke. Okay. Well, we might have to do what everyone else does, right? We might have to do what everyone else does and do the screen thing. This was an attempt. This is a try. We're trying it, right? So I'll read what it says here. He says, exclusive inside the Fulton County Jail where Donald Trump was booked and had a mugshot taken. On Trump fundraising off his mugshot, the sheriff reveals he directed his legal department to explore whether the county is entitled to that money. I'm going to go after Trump's money for the mugshot. I would really love that, right? I'd really love that. Tommy says, let's get some graphic overlays for your show. Yeah, I'm going to try. Like, I can do the thing where I have it here. You know, how a lot of other shows, they sort of have what you're referencing. I didn't want to get too deep into that. I thought if I did it like this, it's a little bit like, because with this, I can actually bring back the board pretty easily, because that's kind of one of the things I was trying to do here. If I can draw the board, I have an Apple pen, you know, one of these pens. I can actually draw the board on an iPad and then project it here. So anyway, we're just experimenting today. Thanks for the patience and everyone. It's the contract. It's the contrast. Yeah, it's the contrast. Yeah. I'll figure it out. That's the issue with the Mac. Pardon the interruption style. Yeah, pardon the interruption style. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's what I'm going for. Yeah, people can follow the topics. That's what I'm trying to do. I you know, it's been a year since I've been doing it this way, so I've taught myself that I can do this every morning. That's not hard. It's time for me to cycle in some new production things, so that's what I'm going for here. Just an experiment, though, guys. It doesn't have to be. Maybe if you turn off the room lights, we could see the monitor better. Yeah, let me try that. I will try that. My gut. Nah, it didn't work. Whoops. And now I'm just dark. Now I'm just dark. All right. Well, forget it. Ignore it. We're not going to use it. It doesn't work as well as I thought. Green screen. Yeah, your show is perfect as is, he says. Yeah, we're just trying some stuff. We're just trying. Thanks, Tommy. Let's keep going with some Moscow time here, right? Let's keep going. Maybe you can see some of these. Nah, not even really, yeah. Major supermarket forced to put empty jars of coffee on shelves as cases of shoplifting soar. Yeah, I agree, Hirsch. Yeah, let's do it live. Yeah, we're just gonna do it live. Let's do it live. Fuck it, let's do it live. Right, Nick, let's do it live. Yeah, this is just something I wanted to try, guys. Nescafe, don't grab the disc. Don't grab the display model. Yeah, so this is an actual headline, right? So this is in the UK. Major supermarket forced to put jars of coffee on shelves, empty jars of coffee on shelves as cases of shoplifting soar. That's what they got going on there. All right, CNN has a good one here, right? White House to send letter to news execs urging outlets to ramp up scrutiny of GOP's Biden impeachment inquiry based on lies. That's what Oliver Darcy over at CNN says. So what's really funny here is just the idea of the White House sending a letter to news execs, right? And that's not the story. The story is they want them to ramp up But it's not that the White House is communicating with news execs. That's not a big deal, right? That's no big deal. And this next one here is pretty good, right? Let me see if I can get it here. And none of these are coming through the way I thought. They tested better. I tested it last night. That was the problem. It worked at night. I tested this whole system last night and it worked fine. It's the light coming in from outside, I think, that's screwing me up. Not even this light. It actually worked last night. So, there you go. But here we go. CNBC. Inflation continues to rise. Okay. But the year-over-year numbers are pretty meaningless at this point, says economist. So inflation is up, but year over year, the data doesn't matter. It's meaningless. The numbers are meaningless, guys. Don't worry about the numbers, right? So that's actually what they're going with. And, we're kind of at the numbers don't mean anything stage of the entire fake world that's being projected around you, right? The simulacrum. How do you say that? Simulacrum. The fake world that is around you that is totally based on words, totally based on prompt engineering, right? What we've learned with LLMs and what we've learned with AI is that humans look exactly like those AIs that you get to do your homework for you. They're the same thing. I use AI before the show every day. I give it instructions. You have to learn how to instruct it. You can't just guess that it will know what to do, but it's very easy. Once you give it its instructions, once you input the instructions into the brain of the AI, it will project out an answer that looks pretty similar to humans when they're prompt engineered. There isn't really that much of a difference, right? Block the windows with foil, Austin says. So there you go. This is the word. Simulacrum. Thank you. Yes, this actually does help. Not the thing. I knew how to read that. Simulacrum. That's what I was going for. Simulacrum. So the simulacrum, because remember, fiat tells you what it is exactly, right? In its title, fiat just means word declarations and things you say. So we've built an entire word out of prompt engineering. The simulacrum is literally the words those people say that helps you conjure reality as it is in your mind. And then that's the place we all live, right? So when you hear things like inflation continues to rise, but now don't look at the data, right? That is the most basic form of fiat, right? So they're admitting what we say on this show all the time. And remember this as Bitcoiners, right? When you're dealing with finance, when you're dealing with all this stuff, there's numbers. There's no doubt there's numbers. But people have made the mistake of even trying to understand Bitcoin with math. Just because there's numbers doesn't mean you need math. Math is not what we're talking about here. There's no math, right? I have not read that yet, Bud, but I am very interested, and that's more or less what we're talking about, right? So the fiat induction method of using words that looks very similar to the way we prompt engineer AI counts on people to not do the math, right? And admits here, and I think it's important, they admit that the math doesn't really matter in the end, right? And I'm there. I've been there for a long time, and that's one of the reasons why I'm a Bitcoiner. Now, the denominator, the everything divided by 21 million, is very important simply because it allows you to have some form of counting and some form of reference. Is that math? I mean, you're using a little bit of the mathematical side of your brain, but it's still a psychological engine. We are still dealing with the economy as a psychological engine, and Bitcoin is a psychological engine as well, and how it perpetuates people's ability to have secure commercial transactions or not is a major reason why I think we're going to win, right? Because we can see that you can actually come to agreement in energy contracts. You can finance energy with Bitcoin. All these really interesting things allow for clear commercial relationships. That's why Bitcoiners are optimistic about the future. We can actually get deals done. We can make things move. We can go forward. Now, Tucker Carlson yesterday began his two-part series in Argentina, and they dealt with exactly this question. They went into the inflation question. And again, this is one of the really important things, because the way he even starts his Tucker on X episode last night was about how something that Bitcoiners have known for a long time, right? That inflation is a hidden tax. And he explains that, of course, Western fiat society has been asking for taxes for a long time to pay for things, but of course, they've learned over time that it's deeply unpopular. No one wants a tax increase, right? On either side of the spectrum, tax increases are never popular politically. They always come with blowback. They always come with risks. It is resistant to prompt engineering and brainwashing, right? We saw it years ago. One of the reasons why Ross Perot was so effective against George Bush Sr., and one of the reasons why Bill Clinton won the election, is because of a famous quote where you had George Bush Sr. say, "Read my lips, no new taxes," and then he raised taxes. And that alone, because it's so simple and easy for everyone to understand, he got punched in the face for weeks on end by Bill Clinton, who had sex scandals and all kinds of other stuff going on in his life. But because George Bush Sr. had lied about raising taxes, he got just free punches. He just pounded him in the face, and George Bush Sr. couldn't deal with it, right? It was too damning and too difficult and impossible for him to come back on. So Tucker Carlson goes to Argentina and paints the historic picture, right? And says, this is a country that not long ago was one of the richest countries in the world. They were richer than Paris, richer than France, right? He went through the old Buenos Aires, describing and showing some of the remnants of that culture that was wealthier than Paris 100 years ago, and now shows it, of course, getting ripped apart. It's all rotten, it's decayed. The fountains that were glorious are filled with shitty algae and just dirty stuff, right? So he goes there and talks just about with a restaurant owner. He talks with just random Argentinians about what's going on over there, and they describe a situation that I think is where a lot of people realize this is headed in America and is headed with the fiat world, and is really the thing that the fiat manipulators have to contend with. So in Argentina now, they say it's a country of 40 something million people. They've only got about 10 million people working. That's it, like 1 in 4. And I think, something like 30% of those work for the government. So there's only like a handful of people working. They describe how a country with just the best agriculture in the world, pound for pound, right? The people there can't even eat meat anymore. They're not even eating chicken. Chicken is a luxury to them, right? Chicken. This is a place where I've been down there, and I got sick of the amount of steak they were feeding us, right? It's just nonstop. It was just beef and beef and beef, and none of it seemed expensive to me, of course, but to locals it must be crazy, right? And the capacity for the people to endure this is really opening really opening the door. And this is what Tucker Carlson gets into. So his quote on this is, hyperinflation and reckless monetary policy could soon devastate the global economy. We traveled to Argentina to see where it's already happened. And within that, so he releases the video talking all about inflation. And there, Elon Musk even replied to it and said, government overspending, which is fundamental cause of inflation, has wrecked countless countries. And so a lot of people picking up on that, right? He talked about how the Washington Post has already gone after Milei, and we're going to be talking about Milei. Milei will be on the episode tonight. So he did a preview of the episode where he'll interview Milei, who some people say is a big Bitcoiner. Now, he hasn't really said much, Milei, about Bitcoin particularly, but he's so anti-fiat and so anti-central banks and anti-economists and all these things that he just seems like an honorary Bitcoiner in a lot of ways, right? Because he is definitely one of those people that, wouldn't have obeyed orders in Hawaii, for example, right? He's not one of those guys. He's not one of those guys where they told me to sit here. He's not that guy, right? He's definitely a guy who looks like he's ready to disagree with top-down information distribution structures, or whatever you want to call it, right? So one of his really funny videos that's circulating is he's talking about all the stupid departments. That one's in the garbage. That one's in the garbage. You see a person who is ready to destroy the bureaucratic state, not the democratic state, not the legal state, not the legal institutions, not the apparatus of direct representation in politics, but basically everyone else who works for the government, everyone else who is there to fulfill some fiat mandate. And an unelected position, it looks like he's after them, right? And that could be something that Argentina could really benefit from. But of course, the Washington Post, major problem with that, right? They've already been running attack ads. This one came last week. Milei's angry radicalism isn't what Argentina needs, right? According to the Washington Post. But here's what we're seeing, right? We're seeing that, just the idea of inflation already becoming a major topic and people understanding that really the appeal is that it's just a silent and secret tax. But Bitcoiners have understood this for a long time, right? We always understand. We talked about it yesterday, the numbers a little bit. Bitcoiners' awareness is always really high. And that's really what World War III is about. It's about the increased awareness amongst the population, right? People learning more and more about how things work in simple ways, right? We don't need complicated PhDs to understand that inflation can come from money printing and is really bad. It's a very simple story because you learn it when you go to pay for things that you eat and want and consume. So there's a touch point that everyone has that isn't intellectual. It's not math, right? It's a feeling of want. It's a feeling of need. It's a feeling of not having enough, right? Not being able to keep up, right? Everyone understands that feeling in Bitcoin. We've been talking about it for a long time, and that's the main reason why we've become Bitcoiners. We've understood that this system that propagated this mess was using inflation as a silent tax in order to perpetuate and stay alive. And it was seen as a life support system already when Satoshi created Bitcoin. What are we at? 13, 14 years ago, right? So from then on, we have a sense of it. But the fiat system, right? That's why today's theme is fiat world getting flushed. The fiat world requires everything in place to make these prompt engineering systems work, right? It's not enough to just prompt engineer. It's got to be directed into the system and then it's got to come through, and there can't be too much interference, right? It has to be a pretty clear signal for it to work. It's got to be unanimous. There can't be ways to get out of it, right? So, the increased awareness. So Austin asks, right, if it was in spite of it all, 30% still voted for the Peronist party. Yeah, the Peron. So we're not going to get to a point in this cycle where everyone gets it. We don't need everyone to get it, right? And we don't even need a majority of people to get it. You just need enough people that know that the past system isn't going to make it, and you need fewer people getting self-perpetuated or pushed or nudged or brainwashed by the other system. And that's where I see things breaking down very, very quickly. So go back to what the White House said, right, on the weekend. So again, the same problem in America extends throughout the world. It's all the fiat system. It's all this edifice that would help create an economy using media, using certain anchor industries in order to perpetuate things. So I'm thinking the car industry, because we're going to talk about it today. There's a few others, but we're going to talk about that one. So the food industry, obviously. So remember, the White House, go back to this GOP impeachment thing that was launched yesterday, right? So look at what happens here. Just read this closely, right? The White House to send letter to news execs, right? So they're trying to go direct to the news execs, right? To ramp up scrutiny of the GOP's Biden impeachment inquiry, right? A lot of people bringing that up yesterday. You've got Joel Pollack in Breitbart, kind of laughing at that, right? Saying marching orders. The White House shows no reluctance in making such an open pitch to the press. There is a sense of license in using the media. The fact that it is a representative of the White House counsel's office is particularly chilling, right? So people bringing this up and mentioning that like this is a new era in their manipulation, but hold on. It's not that simple, right? The Mockingbirds, it looks like we mentioned 2 days ago, grounded. We get Mike Benz talking about how this system works. He's sort of outing people. But look where we are. Look where we're at, right? Yesterday, one of the most amazing Mockingbird things you'll ever see happened, right? So there's a fella out there named David Ignatius, right? David Ignatius, who works with the Washington Post. Everybody who knows about Mockingbird say he is the alpha and omega of the Mockingbird edifice. He is the Washington Post person who gives orders to other Mockingbird assets, unspoken orders that you must follow, right? And so he's come out and has basically said Biden is finished. Right? He's come out and said it, Biden is finished. A lot of people picking up on that yesterday, right? We've got Steve Bannon saying the following: David Ignatius, a mouthpiece for CIA and doubles as comms for the Washington Post, came out with a blockbuster piece that Biden should not run in 2024. The administrative state has just voted. Remember, America hasn't seen any of this yet. The War Room posse has seen it. America hasn't seen any of the evidence, which will be overwhelming. You get Jesse Waters, who comes up with the same observation. He says, make no mistake, Ignatius's column is more than a suggestion. It's a marching order. When American intelligence wants to put out a hit, they feed it to David Ignatius. And today, Ignatius pulled the pin on Joe Biden's 2024 run. He's turning Washington's whispers into a rallying cry. The American intelligence community has to tie up their loose ends. Even the media is falling in line, admitting the Democrat Party is a dishonest monolith, a mob that can't function when it's fractured. The Biden-Kamala ticket is being canceled in its entirety, and the intelligence community is making a calculation, right? So that's what Jesse Waters is saying. That's what Steve Bannon is saying. Here's the way I see it, right? I think indeed you have a situation where the rats are going to have to save themselves on a sinking ship. Everything we've learned about Biden, all these marching orders that you've heard from, the White House communicating directly with media executive staff, to me means the actual machine is broken. The actual Fiat machine is broken, because normally the White House will not go directly to news offices. They get the CIA to do it, right? Why would you go directly to them? That's not the way the system works. To me, what I see is them having to go over and create a new line of communication manipulation, which can be easily ignored and not paid attention to, right? So remember, it's both Jesse Waters who say this column is a marching order, right? And Joel Pollack, who said the same thing, that it was a marching order, right? The White House shows no reluctance. It was making an open pitch to the press. It was a marching order, according to Jonathan Turley, right? He actually titled his piece yesterday, Marching Orders. White House tells media to ramp up their scrutiny. So which marching order are the Mockingbird system going to follow? Are they going to follow the CIA or the Biden one? Right? Now, is he the leader of the free world? Remember, is he the leader of the free world? No. So of course they're going to go with Ignatius. Of course they're going to go with the Washington Post, right? So the ability for this thing to get conjured and perpetuate is getting limited. Look at how pathetic it's actually become, right? This is Mike Solana on Ben Collins. You know, Ben Collins, we've mentioned Ben Collins many times, a very obvious Mockingbird asset. He works at NBC, right? Many people say NBC is as guilty as the Washington Post, is as implicated in this broadcast system, in this brainwash system as the Washington Post. So Ben Collins yesterday, he comes out and he goes on X and says, "Respond to my email, please, Elon Musk. Thank you. How about a little help in getting response for an old colleague, Linda?" So there he is. So the first tweet is, "Respond to my email, please, Elon Musk. Thank you." Then it's second one in a reply, "How about a little help in getting response for an old colleague, Linda X?" That's the new CEO, Linda Yaccarino. And then he goes, "I'm going to be annoying about this. Seriously respond to my email, Elon Musk. CC former NBC Universal colleague, Linda X. I'm not going to drop it." All right. So this is an Operation Mockingbird asset who the job's over. He's tweeting to Elon. That's his plan. That's all he's got. I can picture a meeting where you get Ben Collins and a couple of these guys. It ain't working, guys. They're talking about shit we don't want to talk about. How do we get in touch with Elon? It's like, when I try to invite Elon to events, right? It's like, who knows Elon? My friend, I have a broken wrist from years ago. I got a little hardware in there. Tomfoolery of a young man. The guy who broke it is a friend of Elon Musk's, and so I'm always calling this guy, "Hey, you owe me one. You broke my wrist by accident. You got to get me Elon Musk." But it's always like, it's this. He's more friends with the mom, right? He's more friends with Elon's mom. By the way, he had a really cool show on MTV when we were, that age, and it's called The Buried Life, right? He just went around doing like cool, things you'd always want to do before you die. It was a good show. He now owns that Letterkenny show, I guess, in Canada. He's a super cool guy. So he was my roommate for a little while in college, and so that that's always my plan to get in touch. When any one of these meetings, when we're planning an event, hey, we would love Elon Musk as a speaker. I said, well, I have one sort of way to get to him. It never hasn't worked yet. I've come pretty close though. This guy really does know him, so it has actually come close. I think I'll get him one day. He just, Bitcoin. He's not always there. So here's Ben Collins with like the way, I at least have like a personal connection. Like, hey, can you help me? Here he is going, well, I know what I can do, guys. I know what I'm going to tweet him, and then I'm going to post on X, and then he's going to answer, and I'm going to be annoying. This is what they got. This is the whole plan. This is it. This is what they have. I can't tell any other plan besides this, right? Mike Solana says, genuinely have a hard time comprehending this level of entitlement, talking about Ben Collins. On what planet does the world's richest man have to respond to an email from a political fanfic writer? Ben, this is really embarrassing. Don't post stuff like this, Mike Solana saying, right? But again, that's who these people are, right? That's who they are. So, awareness on inflation going up, the ability to quell the understanding and awareness about inflation going down. Is anyone going to listen to these, the numbers don't matter, inflation doesn't matter stuff, when we all know we're headed to Argentina, right? And Americans, we'll see if they're different. America is about to undergo its most important challenge in the history of the world, right? It's about to enter something that it might fail. It might fail, right? It might. I don't think it will. I think America is going to be the first place that breaks this whole fiat world apart as it is crumbling around our eyes. They are going to be the first to do it. They've got the perfect opportunity. They've got the only forces stopping Americans from becoming Bitcoiners and waking up and increasing their awareness and being able to understand inflation the way Bitcoiners do, consumption the way Bitcoiners do, to be as financially literate as Bitcoiners are, to be as energy literate as Bitcoiners are, to be as media literate as Bitcoiners are, right? All of those forces are here. And the only thing stopping it is Joe Biden. That's it. It's Joe and Hunter and the dingleberries that are around them, right? But even here's what Cernovich says about what's going on, right? Remember, when I see them saying they're going to the news execs, I see desperation, right? I see Ben Collins saying, I know what I'll do. I'll tweet at Elon. I'll tweet at him. That's going to do it, right? That's what I see. I see Ignatius and the other CIA people not picking up the phone, and the White House saying, you're a lawyer, you can do this. Go tell them to do this, right? That's not the normal lines of communication. You shouldn't normally know about this. And then you're left with the following, right? It's always sunny in your Potemkin village, right? You get Krugman with that ridiculous quote that he came out with 2 days ago, right? The economic data have been just surreally good. Even optimists are stunned, Krugman said in a CNN interview, right? Why do polls show most Americans don't think the economy is doing well? There's a really profound and peculiar disconnect going on. It's a profound and peculiar disconnect, right? More like people aren't buying your words. The words don't make reality. They're just words. And Paul Krugman's capacity, like Ben Collins, like the White House's capacity to change things, is just not there. So what are they going to do? Cernovich says the following, right? I don't know how Democrats are going to cheat in 2024. This is a Cernovich quote, right? They don't either. They don't know how they're going to cheat. That's why they are trying to remove Biden. Indicting Trump, they are scrambling in desperation as they can't cheat like they did in 2020. I don't know how they got caught, but look at them. Panic. That's what I see, right? Now, within all of this panic, you've got RFK, who is steadily on the one thing he knew he had to do to win the presidency, right? All the polling that RFK saw before he jumped into this race was the following. It's very similar to what Trump saw in 2014, 2015. I knew the polls Trump was paying for back then. I knew before anyone because he asked for advice from a Canadian who I know who talked about it, right? So this Canadian talked about the polling that Trump was asking for. And I knew what it was. Trump knew that Americans had an appetite for a third-party candidate that wasn't a red or blue person, that something was totally different, right? And that was great at the time. They wanted an outsider. It looks like tastes are becoming a little more refined. It wasn't just an outsider. What Kennedy learned last summer when he did his polling was there was an appetite for people who didn't get it right. Right now, remember, I don't think Kennedy's right about much. I don't. He's wrong about all kinds of shit, right? He would say that. He's not saying he's right about vaccines or about any of the stuff he's worried about. What he is doing is just telling you the truth, right? And that's what his polling told him. His path to victory is simply telling the truth, right? It's simply giving you the find out part. We've been fucking around for a long time. We're at the find out stage of the game. And he's saying, I'll help you find out. I will tell you what I know and what I think is the truth. Trump can do that too. Trump is the find out candidate as well, right? I think Vivek is the find out candidate as well. There's a few people that are the find out part of the equation. We're at the find out part of the game now, of the Fiat game. We are at the find out part. That's why I continue to say that find out should be everyone's political slogan who's against the Fiat system, right? The Fiat system is literally about keeping secrets and persuading you and changing your idea about things and prompt engineering you and making you think certain things. Now that they've been doing it for years, we are at the find out part of the game, and Bitcoiners have been waiting at the find out part of the game because Bitcoin helped us find out already. That's why we're prepared for inflation. That's why we're prepared for the breakdown of the normal fiat information censorship, military industrial complexes that have all grown around fiat currencies in the past 80 years. So he comes out and says the following. So while Democrats are scrambling, while they're in a state of flux, while it's a state of quantum, while there's no way Biden and Ben Collins are going to be able to muster a bunch of people, right? I don't see them mustering support without full CIA implication, which they had in 2020. They had the whole thing, right? They had everybody. Now you get Kennedy coming out and saying things like this. The Democrat Party used to be anti-war. It's now at the forefront of promoting these forever wars, which are destroying our country, right? So now you're going to get Kennedy almost unopposed. I mean, who can actually compete with Kennedy outside of Biden in the Democrat primary stuff? There's no one. There's no one who is at his level of awareness. He has a brand. He's a Kennedy Democrat, right? Now, I continue to think he can do a third party thing and win. I think he can do this is one of the only times in American history where a third party candidate could do it. Now, I still see Trump having abnormal amounts of support right now. Trump, because of the last day in office, still isn't my guy. I'm a one issue candidate. I am a Bitcoin one issue voter, right? I'm a Bitcoin voter. But I love Trump, and I'll always love Trump. And if he gets it, it'll be hilarious and fun. And is it the best outcome? Maybe. I mean, maybe. He certainly has a right. They tried to assassinate him, and they might try to assassinate him still. And if they do, I think still we're in a good spot because we've got RFK, we've got Vivek, and there's other people in the arena fighting. But if that's not enough, right, we see the decay of the other constituent parts of the fiat system, right? It's not just as simple as the media, and although that's a big part of it, right? That's a big part of it. Other parts are breaking, right? The legal system, for example, right? The legal system with Trump getting arrested, with all of these indictments against Trump. Putin yesterday says exactly that, right? He says exactly that. So Putin says about Donald Trump being pursued for political reasons. He says it shows the rottenness of the American political system. They cannot pretend to reach us about democracy. And that is being done in front of the US public and the world. They simply exposed their internal problems. Now, you've got Bukele, who's been saying this for a long time. Bukele has been saying that how can America come around teaching people about and lecturing people about democracy when they have their own troubles with their elections and with Trump and all that stuff, right? So Bukele was the first to say that. What Putin is saying here is similar. So now other countries, right? The whole sanction system that America tried to impose for years is now laughably stupid. It looks like, now don't believe anything you hear about Russia and Ukraine, right? Anything. But it turns out that what we're seeing is that the sanctions and everything that were designed to destroy the Russian military, remember that, right? That was the whole point. We're going to degrade the Russian military. Well, what have they learned? They've learned they can source more stuff from China. It looks like their tank making capacity and their own industrial military complex in Russia has spent the last year getting in shape, getting fit, getting ready to do this stuff. I don't like the sound of that, but that's what we did. The deep state did that. Right? The people who said, oh, put Biden in charge, they did that, right? Because now the sanctions don't work, and sanctions in general don't work. America has tried it on 25% of the world. That was enough for them to make their own circular economy, to make their own sanction evasion tactics, right? So the ability to even impose this world order with money already gone, right? Already gone. And with the legal system being in the position that it's in, probably not going to work either. And now it turns out that the Hunter Biden is going to try and sue, like this came out yesterday, right? I think this is the full sum of the plan, right? Unless it's to kill people. So Hunter Biden is now suing Marco Polo, the guy who did the 600 and whatever page on the Hunter Biden laptop. He's trying to sue him, right? So first of all, the New York Times trying to run cover for Biden still, but probably just wrote this article before they got the Ignatius memo. New York Times made a valiant effort to extricate Joe Biden from the influence peddling of his son. The Times reported that Biden has at times been too deferential to his younger son. That is hardly exonerating, right? If President Biden deferred to his son in selling influence and access, it is neither reassuring nor exculpatory. This is from Jonathan Turley. Rather, it is the latest effort of scandal implosion. Dispensing with the Hunter was a drug addict, the Times is going with Joe was a tragic and loving dad. The paper reported that Mr. Biden's devotion to his son means that he has long followed Hunter's lead. When that lead takes you to a multi-million-dollar influence peddling scheme, it is not a parental but public problem. This was not some elder abuse of a conniving son at a nursing home, but a massive corruption scheme involving corrupt officials in China and Ukraine. The other problem with the New York Times good father, bad son base narrative is that the Bidens have been known influence peddlers for decades. Hunter was virtually weaned on it. Was there also a good brother, bad brother problem in trust in prior years, right? So now Kaneko the Great brings us the story. Hunter Biden is suing Marco Polo, a nonprofit organization that released a comprehensive 640-page report on the laptop. The report meticulously documents the crimes. Now, I don't think every one of the things in the laptop is a crime, right? A lot of them are probably like document scandal crimes, right? Like Trump, the document management scam, right? Like what's in them, right? What's in the Mar-a-Lago documents? What if? It's all what if comic book stuff, right? It's all like, if anyone doesn't know that, a lot of the times in science fiction, there's a subgenre called what if, right? What if Spider-Man became an actual spider, right? What if Superman landed in communist Russia, not Kansas, right? There's a whole genre. What if Bruce Wayne died and his father became Batman, right? There's all kinds of these things, right? There's all kinds of them. So the document scandal is always a what if, because you don't know what's in the documents, right? We've never learned what's in the documents in Mar-a-Lago. No one knows. We still have never seen them, right? Trump's been arrested for it. We've never seen them. But it's the perfect scam because you get to hypothesize. You get to play what if our military secrets for Iran were in there? What if he said to someone, right? It's all that. So I do believe that what Marco Polo found on Hunter Biden, he says 459 crimes. I'll say maybe up to 400 of them, right? Are document scandal, could have, but didn't, right? Now, I don't even want to say that there must be one real crime in there. I think there is, right? But not just because he's listed 459. I see the crime clearly. It's influence peddling. It doesn't take much more. The 20 companies, the shell companies, no product. It's a pretty obvious organized crime racket, right? So the report was free, and so now he's getting sued, right? But we're not done there, right? We've got the legal system falling into disrepute in America. We've got the Mockingbird system seemingly breaking apart, not happy with Biden as their asset. But it gets even better, right? It gets even better. We're not done, right? We're not done. The writer's strike, right? Another major plank of Mockingbird not working, right? We haven't had a Hollywood production, a new one produced in months now. There's not going to be another one. We have been spared the late night talk show losers in America for months now, right? You know, they have their own podcast now, the Strike Force 5. You got to see it. And they're all excited, right? They're all saying, "Oh, We're now ready to do an hour of content without writers a day. What? You mean like every podcast, everyone that exists? Like there isn't such thing as a podcast that functions in a separate way than just a person talking for an hour, right? That's it. Now, Real Time with Bill Maher is the only one who's going to come back. So Bill Maher, already the closest person we have in that liberal edifice to break away. And, he just did an interview with, who is he on the show with? He did a Joe Rogan recently, right? Bill Maher. I've always been a Bill Maher fan, right? I've always seen Bill Maher as someone with an acute sense of, or an acute case of Trump derangement syndrome, but at least one of the Democrats that's persuadable, that is still open to ideas, that is not running on any prompt engineer, right? Or at least someone who knows they are a type of AI that can be prompt engineered and doesn't really have much skin in the game, let's say, with Democrats. I would say he's willing and has shown a willingness to change his idea and have some neuroplasticity in his career, right? So while I don't agree with him about many things, I respect the hell out of Bill Maher, right? So far, I don't have to agree with him. I'm just saying he seems to keep his own opinion. While I don't agree with him, I still think him to be a credible person, and I'm not disgusted by the things he says, right? So he is going to be the only late night person coming back. And this is what he says. Real Time is coming back, unfortunately, without writers or writing. It's been 5 months and it is time to bring people back to work. The writers have important issues that I sympathize with and hope they are addressed to their satisfaction, but they are not the only people with issues, problems, and concerns. Despite some assistance from me, much of the staff is struggling mightily. We all were hopeful this would come to an end after Labor Day, but that day has come and gone, and there seems to be nothing happening. I love my writers. I am one of them, but I'm not prepared to lose an entire year and see so many below-the-line people suffer so much. I will honor the spirit of the strike by not doing a monologue, desk piece, new rules, or editorial, the written pieces that I am so proud of on Real Time. And I'll say it up front to the audience: the show I will be doing without my writers will not be as good as our normal show. Full stop. But the heart of the show is the off-the-cuff panel discussion that aims to cut through the bullshit and predictable partisanship, and that will continue. The show will not disappoint. I think this is a positive. If he's the only one out there, I predict you're going to get like another Russell. Remember when Russell Brand went on his show last year and just lit the place on fire? The reason why you need a few of these outlets is because people are so polarized. And it's exactly why Kennedy is such an effective candidate. I've said for a long time, it's the Armageddon thing, right? Once you put a nuclear bomb in the middle of the asteroid, it can blow up. You can't just shoot them like that movie Armageddon, with Bruce Willis and Ben Affleck and Liv Tyler and all these people. And they said, well, you can't shoot nuclear bombs at an asteroid that's going to hit Earth. They'll pop off and go away. You got to drill a hole into the asteroid and blow it up from the inside. So when I see Democrats bringing new points of view that aren't just prompt engineered from Mockingbird, I see the potential to basically free a bunch of people. It's the Democrats who are the most up to their eyes in the mud and the bullshit, right? But with the fiat world unable to sustain that high level of bullshit, it's getting flushed, right? That's our theme. It's coming below the eye level. And you're starting to get the capacity for people to see clearly that America is not some bright, shining fucking place. It's a shithole. Like everywhere else in the world, it's a shithole. But the good news is we have so much stuff that we can actually repurpose, remake, reconstitute, re-engineer. And even though it's a shithole, America and the rest of the world is really at the precipice or the cusp of a real golden age. A real golden age is upon us if we just get through this next little bit. If we just get through this collapse of fiats, and I think it's happening because it's not just the news, it's not just inflation in the banks, right? It's not just that. You've got other major structural issues. So you got Biden, who's going to make a speech today about the government shutdown, right? So it looks like they're going to have to shut the government down again. They're not going to get the money. I don't think the Republicans are going to play ball this time. They're trying to impeach him. So shutting the government down doesn't shut Congress down. So impeachment and stuff like that can work, right? But the actual administrative state, right? The administrative state that is trying to say that, what's this one? And I guess Hester Pierce is good old Hester has complained about it again. I guess it's that. Let me see if I have the notes. So Hester was saying something, some kind of card game, right? Something was shut down for being a security, but it was an NFT, and she wrote a dissenting opinion, more or less saying the SEC is again out of its mind, right? So a government shutdown will affect people like the SEC. So Biden is going to give a speech on it tonight. It looks like a government shutdown is coming, but that's probably a good thing, right? Americans getting to see what happens without a government, what happens without mainstream media, which they don't have because of the writer's strike. There's no more of those late night people. Oh, you hear what the president said? Right? The same joke for fucking 25 years. Oh, the president did something foolish. Oh, yeah. Those guys, right? They're done. They're done. They're not coming back. No one's going to watch the shit when they come back either, unless, you know, that they continue to ensnare people. But there's no movies coming out. There's no new shows coming out. All that's out is a bunch of low IQ garbage like Star Wars that no one cares about anymore. That's not moving the needle. That's just servicing, you know, absolute low IQ, bottom of the barrel fan people. Right? They're not players in the game. It's an NPC show, right? It's just for NPCs. So, but it's not, you know, it's more. Here's another one, right? The government shutting down, media is shut down because the strike can't handle it. Here's another piece of news from yesterday. The United Auto Workers, I was mentioning earlier about the cars, right? About GM, yesterday, about GM and Bernays working for them, and Ford and the Ford Motor Company. Well, the United Auto Workers on Wednesday outlined plans for a series of events targeting individual U.S. auto plants in what be its first ever simultaneous walkout against the big three automakers if agreements are not reached by Thursday. So the United Auto Workers preparing to strike at Detroit. They reject the new offers, right? So U.S. car manufacturing may be about to stop. Now, I am a big believer that the car industry, as it is, right? How many parts are in a car? Like 20,000 parts in a stupid vehicle. None of them you need anymore, right? If you see the way things are headed, if you see, there was a report several years ago, Morgan Stanley wrote it at the beginning of the EV craze. And what they said was the following, right? And I believe that ever since. The number of parts required to make a car that's electric are like a tenth of what it requires to make a combustion engine car. Just look at the engine. You got the coolant, you got the oil system, you got all these wires, all these tubes and cables and hoses, and the cast of the cylinders. And it's a super complicated thing. Now, I love combustion engines. They're gorgeous. They're beautiful, right? Love looking at them. I got a fucking huge V8 in my car, right? I love it. Just sucking gas. I love the emissions. It's the best. By the way, you guys got to see this sometimes. Because I love Bob Dylan. I've mentioned this story, but we have all kinds of new people. I'll mention this about Bob Dylan. This is the sophisticated artist communicating, right? So Bob Dylan, who let the whole world know at the beginning of COVID that John F. Kennedy was murdered, and that the same, more or less, the release of A Murder Most Foul, which is his take on the Kennedy assassination and the changes that happened in 1963 and 1964. He released that during the first week of the lockdown, which to me was a signal that we're dealing with Mockingbird and assets that he understood and had understood since he was politically active and everything like that, and growing up in the 1960s and all those things. So I remember when they asked in 2008, when the global warming thing was just starting, like the real brainwashing. I'd been against the global warming argument since I was a teenager, since I was a kid, since I heard the teachers telling us the world was going to end because of some bullshit. I was like, no, it's not happening. So they, you know, the people are always trying to recruit and draft Bob Dylan to their cause, right? So of course the environmentalists like, Bob, you know, you come and help us, right? So what did he do? He goes to Cadillac and makes an ad for the Escalade, which is the biggest vehicle in America, I think. And all the ad is him driving through the desert, giving it more gas. It's just him putting his foot on the gas and revving the engine fast to the desert, right? Beautiful, beautiful, really nice stuff. So, that's Bob Dylan, right? So, the the car manufacturers here and everything that's going on with the car manufacturing and that whole system, right? The future of cars is not cars made on multiple continents with parts from this country and parts from that country. And then, because that's all Fiat cronyism, that was always pork barrel politics. That was always distortions of the way the market should work. Cars are going to turn into locally produced cottage industry things where you're only dealing with a handful of parts: a battery, a drivetrain, some wheels, and a frame. I mean, it's going to get really simple. And you're going to see bespoke cars built locally and built with old parts from old cars and all kinds of stuff. But the car business itself, finished, right? Absolutely finished. The capacity for, and I think Fiat really did create the car industry as we know it today. The idea of a car costing as much money as it does, and being so in tune with marketing and the entire mindset of the Fiat world, right? The brands, right? You got to show the brand of your car, which is one of the biggest amazing things that Bitcoiners have already brought to the game. Right? Bitcoiners have already brought that to the game, right? We drive these old Toyotas all the time. It's not a meme. It's absolutely true. I drive two Toyotas. I own two Toyotas, and they're both from before the financial crisis and the government started buying and owning car companies. Both of my cars, right? I'm not going to get a fucking, I've had all the BMW, brand new, all that shit. It's the dumbest thing you can do. It's so stupid. Like, it's dumb, right? I would never do that again. That was like an old, my old Fiat mentality and attitude that even led me down that road. I bought a BMW in 2012 when I knew about Bitcoin, and I probably spent the next 3 or 4 years trying to kill myself because I made that choice. I had enough cash to buy a car. Bitcoin was not $10, and I knew about it, right? So that's often been my own like, oh geez, Bitcoin story about the early days, right? So I will never, I made that mistake and paid the psychological price of consumerism and all that stuff. I could have, with the amount of Bitcoin, I could have owned the BMW company by now. That I could have bought then, that I paid for the car. Like, for real. It was not like I could own the BMW company. It was that much, right? So we all get over these things, right? They're not a big deal. We all have those stories. They're all hypothetical what ifs. None of them are actually real, right? I did not have as much conviction in Bitcoin in 2012 as I do today, right? It took me about a year and a bit to get the conviction. I probably didn't get crazy about Bitcoin as a way of living your life until 2014, 2015. I hadn't still made that leap, right? I was working in Bitcoin every day, but it takes some time, right? So you get the United Auto Workers not working. You get so that's the car manufacturers, the Hollywood strike. Congress is going on strike. Mockingbird is broken. What else is there left to hold the Fiat thing up? What's left? Right? Is it just kill people? Maybe. Maybe. Yeah. Yeah, the spending. Yeah, I used to spend Bitcoin a lot back then too, Austin. Yeah. That's something a lot of newbie Bitcoiners don't understand. Like, there was in 2014 and 2015, you were compelled to spend your Bitcoin in Bitcoin ways, right? Yeah, that'll teach you humility. Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Trust me. You know how many times I did the math? You know how many times I woke up in a sweat in like the 2016, 2017 run, just being like, that fucking BMW, man. Like, that fucking BMW. I hate it. And it was a nothing but a pain in the ass too. But it kept me alive. Canadian roads are dangerous in the winter. I bought, it was the SUV one because it had like it was very safe. Like, so I probably would be dead if I drove so much back then. I'd be dead by now. So that's how I rationalize the decision, right? That's how I feel okay about it. So don't break my rationalization, guys. Let me keep my rationalization with me. So we've got the United Auto Workers, Mockingbird down, and now when you think about the last bit, bringing it back to inflation and the economy, right? U.S. credit card balances now exceed $1 trillion this year, right? And simultaneously, it was the first time in history that 50% of credit card balances were carried over month to month. So America having a major credit card problem right now. More and more people are living paycheck to paycheck, according to Wall Street Silver. And when they can't make ends meet, it goes on the credit card at 18% interest. Eventually, they all get maxed out and things start falling apart. How long until a recession and unemployment cycle start increasing the credit card default rate? Looks like we're there. Looks like we're there, right? And then people say, this is Sticks, Hex, and Hammer. Trump is now leading a field of 13 people by almost the same margin that Biden is leading a field with 2 others in it. He's also narrowly ahead for the general in the aggregated polling, something he never accomplished in 2020. So imagine we're this far out. Trump is that far ahead. He's already ahead of whatever he was in 2020. So either something huge is coming, like aliens kill Trump and Elon Musk conveniently at the same time, or this thing really just is a bunch of idiots who can't keep the boat going forward. Now, you know what I try to imagine? Rowing, right? Rowing a boat. I think of the rowing analogy almost all the time, right? So I think of the rowing analogy when we do events. Events are very complicated businesses, right? Cernovich is, if you go on Cernovich's thread today, he's some reason going all into the event business model, how complicated it is. And it is very a complicated model, right? It's a very complex thing to put on, a lot of risk, a lot of stuff like that, right? And so over time, you learn about the events landscape, you learn about the risk you take. And where was I going with this? Risk, events. Anyway, I forgot my train of thought, but it was something along the lines of let me see. Well, I can't remember what I was saying. Welcome, Bitcoin BMW. We were talking about Bitcoin BMW. The simulation has winked at you. It's been all about BMWs this morning. You actually came in the middle of a Bitcoin BMW chat. So there you go. But we were just joking around. So yeah, events. I don't remember what I was saying. All right, team. Rowing as a metaphor. There we go. Rowing. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Rowing as a metaphor, right? So, I helped create Consensus, which is the largest crypto event in the space. I've been working with the Bitcoin Magazine show, which is the biggest event in Bitcoin. So I've seen a bunch of event teams, and I did a lot more than that, sort of behind the scenes in the last few years as well. And what I always saw was good events put on by teams where everyone's sort of working the same as like a good rowboat, right? You just got to think of everyone rowing in the same direction and what it requires in terms of coordination to keep the boat going straight, right? Now, when I think of a bad event, I've seen those, right? What it looks like when no one's organized and all that. I'll always, to like loosen the mood, I'll say, now just imagine everyone on this team rowing in a boat and what it looks like. And people will laugh. Right? Like imagine these people sitting in a boat together. You can do it at your job. Whatever project you're doing is probably the same as the event, right? You think about 10 people working on a project. Now just picture them in a boat trying to row it together, and however the coordination looks in the real world, apply it to the boat. And it's usually funny. It's usually someone like, hitting themselves in the head with an oar. Like no one even knows what they're doing. Rowing, what are you talking about, right? So what I do now, and think about it in this fiat world, this machine needs to run neatly and tidily, right? Mockingbird plus the industrial war machine, plus the government on one side, plus the systems and executive branch all have to be coordinated. Otherwise, the boat ain't going anywhere. And what I see is a bunch of people now rowing in different directions. And the leader of the free world is supposed to be the one with the microphone telling people what to do. He's not a leader. No one follows that guy, right? No way. He's an old, crazy mother effer. And whether you say he's tough still or whatever, his faculties are about him, no, not anymore. It's over. So there you go. That's what I got for today. Thank you for reminding me about the rowing as a metaphor. We love it. Keep up the good work, Semper Fi. Rowing strokes, block times, very similar. Bitcoin Graffiti, welcome. We were trying out a new system today, Bitcoin. It didn't work very well. So I'll go back to the drawing board. We were trying to do this. We were trying to use this blackboard thing. I do think I can get the whiteboard on this. I do think I can do that. But there you go. Trying something new. I wonder if a big screen would do it, but it's a pretty, 24-inch monitor, so I don't really think I can fit a bigger screen there. Anyway, experiment. We won't do it again. We'll try the overlays, I guess. But we'll try it out. Green screen, yeah, it could be green screen. Yeah. Anyway, we're starting a new season of the show soon, so I'm trying to up the production stuff. Yeah, I don't, Gene. I think the glare is what it is. I think it's where it is, not like I could fix the height. If it was just the height, I wouldn't be worried, right? If it was just the height, add the horoscope. Yes, I will do that. Bitcoin Graffiti. I will add the horoscope. I will. Time to get into the horoscope game. We love horoscopes. Yeah, I mean, I've been thinking about this for a while, so I just wanted to try it out. I thought this might work, but I was wrong. All right, team, that's all I got. I hope you have a great day. I'll see you tomorrow. Tomorrow will be Friday. It's going to be a great one. All right, peace.